In my financial planning business, I work with folks who earn in the mid five figures and folks who earn more than $1 million. Across the income spectrum, people struggle to know how much to spend and to manage cash flow, budgeting, and debt. Now, that raises this question of why is it that even on the higher end of the spectrum, even among really high earners, why is cash flow still a challenge? A couple reasons. It's a lot of things, of course, but I think one big, reason it's hard for a lot of people is it's really challenging to make a connection between a small daily decision and like big, broad, longer term goals. It's really hard to say like, no, I don't think I'll order lunch in today because I want to be able to retire 5 minutes sooner than I otherwise would have been. It's really hard to make that case to yourself, or for buying a house in the future, or funding college, or taking more vacations, or whatever it is. It's hard to connect today to sometime in the distant future. So what do you do about that? How do you make that connection between what's happening today and what's happening going forward? And by the way, when you make that connection, that could lead to cut spending or increase spending. You might find that you're actually doing fine and you can order lunch in, you can take a vacation, you can do a fun thing. That's important too. But how to make that connection? Well, there are a lot of apps out there that you can use to track your spending, and they claim to be able to categorize them so you know exactly how much is going toward clothes, restaurants, concerts, whatever it is. Some people swear by that and they really like it. If that works for you, great. But what I often find is that people who are struggling with this kind of thing, they're unsure where their money's going, they have some debt, that it's a challenge for them. They use a budgeting app and they come back to me and say like, I'm spending so much on restaurants, I gotta spend less on restaurants. And it's like, do you though? Because why is spending on restaurants like morally worse than spending on like dry cleaning or I don't know, something, lawn care, whatever it is? It's not. If you enjoy it, then you should do it as long as it kind of fits into your broader plan and your broader picture. So I think tracking apps can work, but they do create that challenge of this self-shaming where it's like, oh no, I'm spending so much on this random thing, which again, that might not be a bad thing necessarily. The approach that I prefer is one where you put various dollars into buckets, separate accounts, and be very clear about what their job is for you going forward. And so that certainly does mean money for retirement, for college savings, for a down payment, for an emergency fund, yes to that. But also it's really helpful to have sinking funds for vacations every year. You're going to travel, or you hope to. And by putting money aside every month, or when bonuses or extra income come in, and just knowing the money's there can be really, really helpful. And you don't feel bad about spending on travel as long as the money's there. Home repairs, home updates too, or just if you have a spouse or partner, just general expenses, having a single account for groceries, repairs, renovations, things like that, it takes out so much tension from a relationship, because that way it's not like, well, we can't spend on this because we have to build our emergency fund up. It's more like, well, we have this much money in our account and here's what we're going to put in going in the coming months. We can do X or we can do Y. Let's talk about what that is. Yeah, that can still cause some tension, but not quite as much. So that could be really helpful. And then we talked about, a safety net, daily spending, home repairs, things like that. Holidays too. People come to me, and I've been guilty of this too, where it's like, oh, I was doing so well, and then Christmas happened. Man, it's so hard to know when Christmas comes up, isn't it? No, it's the same time every year. We know when it's happening. We can save for it. Again, I've missed that too, for sure. Hanukkah, that's harder to pin down. I'll give you that. I've celebrated Hanukkah for many, many years. I don't know when it's happening this year. Hard to say. But it's around the same time every year, each time, isn't it? So we can save for that. That makes things a lot easier. And what if you have this account for just general spending, and you find out that there's not enough money in it this month to go out to dinner with your friends and you really want to? Well, you can either not go, or you can say, okay, I really want to do this. It's important to me. I'm going to take money out of my vacation fund to do this. And that does mean less travel in the coming, months or years. And you have to weigh that. And maybe it's worthwhile. Maybe you say, you know what? I want to see my friends. I want to have this good time tonight, and that's worth it to me, and that's okay. Part of the ideal thing about the system is that it brings those trade-offs into stark relief. Whereas if you just said, yeah, I guess I'll go to dinner, I'll put it on a credit card, I'll worry about it later when the bonus comes in, that creates some challenges, as we all know. But then also, the flip side of that is saying like, I'd love to go out and have fun and see my friends, but I don't know if I really should. I mean, I'm not sure I'm okay on retirement savings. I have some credit card debt. I don't know. You might be fine. You might be fine to go do that. And again, as bad as it is to spend so much that it hurts your other goals, it's also not great to just withhold too much and restrict yourself too much when you really could be doing fun things and living your life because you're fine. So having clarity, knowing like what's available for spending, what's needed for savings and for medium and longer term goals can be really helpful, bring a lot of clarity and make these connections. And one person I work with, as a financial planning client, when she first came to me, she put this really, really well in saying that she wants to focus on the smaller decisions, knowing the bigger ones are already accounted for. Just a really eloquent way of putting it, and that's what this is meant to do. So if you know what's available, that can be such a big help. It's not the only thing that drives spending issues, but it is a big help. If you want to know more about that, let me know. I can make more videos, more content about it, but I find that to be really helpful. Thanks.